rising storm. I'm forged in the fire, a new heart reborn. With every breath, with every stride, God, I'm your warrior, with you as my guide. Through the valleys of shadow, through the rising storm, I'm forged in the fire, a new heart reborn.
Hi everybody. Hope everyone's doing great. I always feel weird talking. But I was finally getting to catch up some on Tamara's and Regina Ward's video that they did on Tamara's YouTube page. I'll go and I'll link it in this video, so that way if you haven't found it or come across it yet or anything, I'll link it so that way y'all can find it. So, and y'all can go and subscribe to her. But they had talked about some things that I do think need to be discussed more, and it would go into the cohesive control bill, and I think it should be like a nationwide thing, kind of like a child SA registry, you know. So, but I wanted to play these two parts of the video that they had. Now, this is the one where her and Regina Ward were together, and it was, I got it written down, dang. Like I said, I'll link the YouTube page, so that way y'all can go and find it and watch the full thing yourself. There's quite a bit of interesting things that they discussed in there, and then there was a couple of things that I kind of wanted to discuss maybe later on. But I wanted to go ahead and go into the cohesive control. I wanted to go into the parts where after the spouse passes away, and I think this is something that needs to be added to that bill if it's not already in there. I don't remember seeing it in there. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't personally remember seeing it, and it's been a little while since, you know, I've read through it and stuff. So you got my ice cream before it. But yeah, going back to the cohesive control and rights over a person's body during a separation or during any kind of DV or anything where the spouse feels unsafe. And there's been multiple police reports and things like that, and you didn't even see that in Mica's medical exam report, but you saw things about her mental health, you saw things about this, that, and the other that were all one-sided information. It sounded like someone personally, JP Diddy, wrote the medical exam report. And so dang it, why when I'm in the bathroom getting ready, I'm like, oh yeah, this. Oh yeah, I could say that. That'd be great. Yeah, great point. And then as soon as I get ready, everything's just out my head. I'm gonna play these two parts of the video of Tamara's and Regina Ward's that they had, and then that'll probably help refresh my train of thought.
They've made the most case law. I can't remember the names of some of those cases, but I remember the facts, and some people probably are familiar with too. There was a case, and the name may come to me at some point. When you get this far removed from law school, you don't worry about that so much anymore. But anyway, it was a situation where a husband and a wife were basically separated, and they were not divorced, and I think that there was, I remember correctly, there was actually a divorce that had been filed, but it obviously was not complete. So, like in the state of South Carolina, and I can't really speak to other states because I'm not licensed in other states. I'm not sure where the audience are. I'm sure they're from all over places, but they here in South Carolina, if you're not legally divorced, even if there's a pending action for separation or ultimately divorce, the law considers you still married. And as you're still married, if you don't have these documents in place, then your spouse is the one who has these powers. And usually that's the right way to go. That's, when you're married, you usually name your spouse as your durable power of attorney and the person who is going to be over your health care as well. So what had happened in that one case I was telling you about is the lady had some kind of accident. She was actually very young, and so she ended up in a coma. I don't know, something crazy, like 28 years old or something. And so whenever you're in a coma, there's not anything that's threatening to take your life. Okay, you can stay on life support, and you can continue to live, or maybe you're just incapacitated and not able to make decisions for yourself, obviously. So in that scenario, it brought up a whole lot of problems because the husband was wanting to pull the plug, as we say, or take her off of life support. And of course, her mom and dad were very upset about that because they didn't want that to happen at that time, but they didn't have the legal authority to intervene. Her husband had all of the authority to make those decisions. And so if you're a single person and you're not married, it's even more critical to have these documents. Then the law has I guess what you call like a pecking order as to who's first, second, and third in making those decisions for you. And in South Carolina and in most states, it's always your spouse. So if you're not married, I'd encourage you.
Okay, so going off of that, okay, we know we have like certain registries for different things. I'm wondering if there would be a way to have some kind of registry or something within the system that whenever they pull up the person's name at the medical exam office or hospital or whatever, that there's a type of flag or something that indicates that, hey, this spouse and this spouse, like, the pecking order needs to be changed. So, as in, not the husband or wife or whoever that the offender is doesn't have full control of their body and their say-so, especially if there is questionable things within the situation. Okay, got on my train of thought, so I'll just add again here. But okay, so if someone goes out and gets a restraining order and it is granted in the process of separating, divorce, or anything that legally binds that person to another person, if they go out and get a restraining order, there should be some kind of law or some kind of registry or something that the name goes into, so that way if something was to happen legally with that spouse or significant other that someone would have rights over, that name will come up and be pulled, and it will be shown that, hey, this person has a restraining order against this person, so do not release information or the body or anything until further notice. So that kind of, I just thought about that, and it makes more sense to say it that way. But and then that way, evidence, if needed, can be preserved, and if other measures or anything else needs to happen, like as far as like autopsy, toxology, any of the tests that need to be performed for anything can be done, and doesn't have that right, or the person doesn't have that right that has the restraining order against them, They do not have that right
In
to
a quarter mile,
forcibly
turn left onto Northfield Circle.
Have the family members, like mother, father, sister, brother, like Regina had said, the pecking order, to force them or anyone to cremate, bury, or destroy any kind of evidence. So there needs to be some kind of something, I don't know exactly, but something, a registry or something, to where that can pull up like a flag, like a flag on a name, you know, so that way.
Take the next left onto Northfield Circle.
In this situation, like with Mica, you know, they could have had more of a grace period and more rights in order to take care of what needs to be taken care of. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. I had my thoughts come, and then I was trying to go ahead and do it to post in this video, but then the GPS was going, and you know, she's just so rude, always trying to talk over somebody. But anyway, back to the whole registry thing. Like say in Mica's case, like when she passed away, she had a restraining order against JP. So there needs to be something in place so that way, if needed, evidence, DNA, toxicology, did it that time, any of the things that need to be performed can be done. And that way, that protects the victims' families, whether, you know, even if it was something natural or whatever, it's something to still at least protect both parties in a situation, and also not to force one side or another to quickly have something done, like cremation, like was done with Mica. Those kind of decisions should not be a forced thing, not for any family. So we've heard from the Francis family that they were forced to sign the cremation papers or they couldn't see her. So that in itself should be illegal. And there should be something in place that whenever a medical examiner or, you know, whoever types in that person's name, that there is some kind of flag or something that pops up and says, hey, this person such and such has a restraining order or has something not to release the body, and give full rights to that spouse. So that protects the we'll just say offended. That protects them as well, because if something was to come up, like say they wanted to say that, you know, such or such did something to somebody, well, all evidence has been deleted, you know, especially if they're cremated, you know, there is no going back. So it protects both parties. So it protects the family of the person that lost someone, and it protects the person that, even if they have a restraining order against each other or whatever, it protects both parties. And there should be a grace period, kind of like when with a car accident or something, going to the impound. There needs to be some kind of grace period that the body is held, even if it's just for 2 days. That's 2 more days. The evidence or whatever could be gotten, or, you know, everything is taken care of, and, you know, before a person is cremated or buried or whatever, you know, like all the dots and T's are crossed, or whatever that saying is. But there needs to be something in place for that. And I mean, and within the legal system, that would protect both parties. There we go. That would protect both parties. So if anything was to ever come up later on, you know, hey, we got this, or we got this blood, or you know what I mean, like something. So that needs to be something that can be done, and there needs to be some kind of registry that if you're married and you are trying to get divorced for DV or whatever coercive control situations, and you have a restraining order and you've had calls and you know you have felt your life was in danger, there needs to be a wait period, a hold time, and a flag that can come up that says, hey, you know, whatever, you know, whatever they want to call it, you know, but it pops up and it, you know, it says, hey, you know, place on hold, 2-day hold or something, you know, whatever. But it prevents from what happened to Mica happened to someone else. And it protects both parties. Both parties. So, I mean, yeah. So, and then in that situation, it shouldn't be just the spouse that decides, you know, hey, yeah, go ahead. Because, I mean, a body can be placed on hold for years. So, and no, JP Diddy, the body does not. I mean, it will if you're just out there, you know. But no, with our technology and the refrigeration and everything, there's people that have been on hold, I guess you'd say, on hold or whatever, for years. And that's a fact. So that is something that needs to be changed. And that is something that they need to figure out how to do it. And I'm pretty sure they can figure it out because they're the law and the state and all that good stuff. So, alright. I wasn't even recording. Alright, so I wanted to go ahead and play the second part that I had ready to play for this video, and let me get to it. I know it's dark because it's nighttime now and the street lights are on, so I better get home because street lights are on. Oh, they got all kinds of little Christmas trees out there. Okay, but getting back to,
let's see.
Wait, here it is.
Let's see. Right here, I think this is a good question. So if there's no documents, does the spouse have the final say?
Yes, if you are married, and this is South Carolina, again, I don't know what, you know, happens in other states, but in South Carolina, if you're married, whenever you pass away, then your spouse is, remember I mentioned a pecking order, meaning who's call it order of priority, okay? And so the laws lay out who's first, second, third. So if you're married in South Carolina, the person with first priority is your spouse, as we would normally expect when you're in a happy, healthy marriage, right? Where the problem comes in is if you're not in that at the time that you die, but you've not been legally divorced at that point, or have a final property division, that kind of stuff. So, so then if you're not married, then that goes to, we always do this thing, it's like you look up, you look down. This is our little secret formula for lawyers. We figure out who's first, second, and third. So if you look, you look left, right, it's my spouse. I don't have a spouse. Where do you go to next? It's your parents. If your parents are not living, then it can be, and you don't have a spouse, no parents, then it's going to be your children. If you don't have children, then it goes to siblings, and it just keeps working the way down like that as to who would be named, to take care of those things for you.
Thank you so much. You got such good information, Attorney Ward. One person did say, I think you just answered it. I think you just answered it though. Somebody just asked, what if you're not married when you pass?
Oh, there needs to be some kind of like flag or something that comes up like we talked about, and should also even maybe have kind of like how you would have at work or any other place, an emergency contact. So if that way, if you were found, or if you were passed away, or the person was passed away, not only would that flag come up, but also a contact for someone close to that person that can kind of help guide, I guess. They sound complicated, but it really doesn't have to be that complicated. But it's just a way to protect both parties and also protect the victims and people like Mica's family that ended up in that situation, and then help preserve evidence that needs to be preserved for just in case later on down the road, especially with cremation, because there is no going back and preserving once a person has been cremated. And even after burial, you can still get evidence, but that's so much more on the state and more of a burden. And, you know, I mean, not just a burden on the state, but a burden on the family, because that's kind of like, you know, a lot of people think that's morbid, you know. So there just needs to be something changed to help people in their situation. I'm gonna end this now, and for real this time. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday. And I love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that free stuff, and comment and let me know your thoughts. And also, while going back and listening, and I said something that kind of made me think, because remember, they said that the Francis family was forced to sign the cremation papers, but if JP had total control, why would they have to sign off? I mean, it might be, you know, maybe you do have to have like so many signatures or something, but what was it that, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it could be because, you know, situational, but still, they still gave him full control. So why I don't know. But anyway, maybe if y'all know or something, I haven't personally dealt with that whole process of cremation, so I don't know, but it was just something I thought about. But anyway, I love y'all. So if today's your birthday again, happy birthday again. And I hope y'all have a wonderful night, day, morning, wonderful weekend, week. Bye. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday!